Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the Top 5. This month I'm going to be talking about some authors that I really want to read, but I haven't read them yet. So to start with, I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone with this video because this is also a kind of response video to CheckedOutShow, who did a video where she was talking about the top 5 authors that she would really love to read in the future. So I figured I'd do a response to her video and just make it a top 5 related video as well. So I'm going to begin. Elizabeth Gaskell. I really would love to read some of her books. Not all of them sound that appealing, but the two that I have been dying to read the most are Cranford and North and South. I've seen the mini-series version of both of those, and I'm very curious if I would enjoy the books as well. I did read little snippets of Cranford in a college Victorian literature class, but we didn't read the entire thing, so I would really love to go back and read the whole thing at some point. Number 4, Alexandre Dumas. You know, I have not read that much classic French literature. I think Les Mis has been it in terms of classic French literature, and I've always really wanted to read The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. I've seen movie adaptations for those, so I'm curious if I'd like those books as well. Count of Monte Cristo is seriously one of my most favorite movies, but I've heard a lot of bad things about the book, that the movie is nowhere near like the book, and the book is actually very boring. And how is it that I have not read The Three Musketeers? I've seen like four or five different adaptations of that in movie format, and it's like I must read this book one day before I die. Number 3, Stephen King. I have never read a Stephen King novel, but yet the man has like dozens and dozens of books, and they're all bestsellers. And the majority of his books have been done either as movies or as TV miniseries. In particular, I'd really like to read The Shining and Carrie and Pet Sematary, and I'm also watching Under the Dome at the moment, so I'd really like to read that as well. Number 2, Mark Twain. I took an American literature class in college, so one of the first authors I thought of that we would be reading in that class was Mark Twain, and we didn't even discuss or talk about Mark Twain. In my American literature class, we had like a lot of obscure American authors and novels that I'd never even heard of. So I was very surprised that I didn't get to read things like Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, which are such huge American classics. And also from Mark Twain, I would really like to read A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. That just sounds really fascinating just from the title alone. And I'd also like to read Joan of Arc. And here at number 1, Neil Gaiman. The only experience I have with Neil Gaiman is through the episodes of Doctor Who that he's wrote most recently. I really love those episodes of Doctor Who. The Doctor's Wife was probably the best episode of season, season 6 I believe it was. That was probably the best episode of season 6. And then he also wrote, I believe it was called Nightmare in Silver, I think it was called, for this last season. That was probably one of the best episodes of the whole season. So I really want to read his books and see if I like them or not. For instance, I'd like to read Stardust and Coraline, American Gods, and The Graveyard Book. I've heard a lot of stuff about American Gods, and like it's really, really deep, and you gotta get really into it, and it's kind of hard to read on occasion, but I would really like to challenge myself with that one. Okay, so that's the top 5 authors that I have not read yet, but I would love to in the future. In the comments below, I would like you guys to tell me what authors you haven't read yet, but you would like to at some point, and your answer may appear on next month's show. Last month I shared with you guys my favorite childhood books, and these are some of your responses about what your favorite childhood books were. I believe I mentioned 2 Mary Downing Hahn books in my list, and Nerdy11 suggested that I also read Time for Andrew by the same author. And I'll have to check that one. I think I've seen it at my local used bookstore. The Collected Works said that her favorite childhood book is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And that's funny because the month before that, when people were talking about their most disappointing books, someone mentioned that A Little Princess was their most disappointing book. And both of the above mentioned that they really enjoyed the Goosebumps series as children. And so did I. I still have all my Goosebumps books, just lingering somewhere back here. They're all very old looking. So that's it. Thank you all for your responses, and I'll see you all next month for another edition of the Top 5. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.